Welcome to Blonde Cards and Crafts. Let's make something together. Hello crafters! Today we're going to make a 5x7 wiper card and I'm using the Made to Surprise rectangle wiper card die. This is the packaging that it comes in and this is what it looks like. You get a die that cuts out your base, your mechanism, your layers. You have this lovely sentiment as well as 2 speech bubbles. This is how I like to store my dies when they come. This is for my large dies. I have this sleeve and it's only sealed here on 2 edges. I also use the really strong magnetic sheets and I back that with a 300 GSM white card. And this then holds all my dies in place and this will sit inside that Made to Surprise sleeve. So that's the dies I'm going to be using, but you don't have to use dies for this project. I'm going to give you the measurements as well. This is the paper pack that I'm using and I love the Paper Boutique papers. These come with die cut toppers as well as papers in this paper kit that I got. And I have one of the toppers out, but I will use another one. This sentiment that I'm using is from a Love from Lizi stamp set that I got in one of the kits, and I don't remember, actually it's the November 2019 card kit, and this is the sentiment that I'm going to use with much love at Christmas time and always. I have also fussy cut out some of the little images from my scraps of paper that I have used for the card. I love doing this. I think it just picks up on the back. I've also used this Signature Collection die by Sarah Davies. It's from the Winter Wonderland collection and I do believe this came free with an embossing folder in a magazine. I love getting the crafty magazines. So this is what it came with and this is how I store my smaller dies, etc. And I love this because it gives a shadow background and then it has your words. So I've used some red cardstock and some silver cardstock for that. Also what I've done is I have taken some peel-offs and these are from Love from Lizi. Have you seen these? They're such a cool idea. These are a long thin sticker and the ones I have used on my card are the holographic ones. And I've used it as well on the back on the sentiment panel. You can just see all the lovely sparkle and shine there. I get the Love from Lizi kits each month and each month you get a peel off sticker set in the kit. So you can see here I'm using the red one to show you. You get them in different widths on it. And I like to keep the little bits. Those little bits can come on very handy when you're doing a project. But this is the one I'm using. This is the holographic silver one. And I just think all the colours in it are fab. So just say you had an image you wanted to put on a card, you could use the peel-offs across the whole length or just use a piece on either side. And that's why I keep all the little pieces that get cut off when I'm doing a project. They do come in very handy. You can see here I have a lovely selection of all different colours and types. Some are sparkly, some are matte, some of them are little heart stickers, some of them come with an edged shape, some of them have a colour on the inside with another colour running down along the edge. Love from Lizi has a great selection of peel-offs and I would encourage you to go and have a look. And I will put links down in the description, so make sure you have a look there. Right, let's go ahead now and get started with our card. For my base, I have die cut out 2 of these greyish blue panels. Now I have used the large die that came in this die set and it cuts out and puts in the score lines that you need. So I die cut out 2 of those. But the base measures 10 by 5 and you can see there that it's scored at 1.5 and at 3 inches. So you could cut that yourself, but you will need 2 of those. I also have some patterned paper here and I have 2 different types. This one's for the front and this one is for the back. There is a die that comes in the die set. You can see it here This is for your matte layers, and I have used that to cut out these two patterned paper sheets. Now you can cut it out yourself. It needs to be 6.5 by 4 3/4. Here I have 4 panels for our front and back. These measure 4 3/4 by 1 1/4, and you get 2 dies in the set to cut them out. I have a white panel here, and this white panel measures 6 1/4 by 4 1/2, and I've hand cut that out. You don't get a die in the set for that. This is going to sit on my red patterned paper on the back, and I'm going to put those little fussy cut images onto this as well. Now here I have one of the die cut toppers that come in the Winter Gnomes paper kit. I'm going to use my scissors and fussy cut around that. I also have another one of a little girl, and I'm going to fussy cut that out and put it on the front too. So this piece here is the mechanism, and this is going to make our little gnome pop up and out when we open and close the card. Now it measures 4 1/2 by 3, and if you look here on the bottom left, there is a score line going across the card. So you would need to come up on the left 1 1/2 inches, and then come across the bottom 1 1/2 inches, and then join those two marks together using a scoreboard. That's how you could make the mechanism for this, and that's what you'll need for this wiper card. But as I say, there is a die that comes in the kit for that. So that's everything ready to go. All we need to do now is make our card. Okay, so I'm speeding everything up so the video will be a little bit quicker, but you can see here I have some art glitter glue that I'm going to use. I've also got some red liner tape, and I'm going to use them as adhesive for this card. So I'm sticking down my nice front patterned paper, and when you're putting your panels down, make sure that if there's pattern in it, that the pattern matches up. So that's what I've done with these pieces here. Perfect. I'm going to take my die cut sentiment, and I'm going to stick down my Merry Christmas. Now I have die cut out this in silver, and I've also die cut it out a couple of times in white card, and I've layered those together, and that'll give some definition to the sentiment. I'm going to glue that down to our red matte paper, and this is a shadowed outline of our sentiment. Perfect. And once that's all down, what I'm going to do is take some foam tape, and you can use any foam tape you have in your stash, or you could glue it straight down onto the card, but I do like a bit of dimension, and I don't mind paying extra for adding a little bit of dimension to the postage. So I'm going to put some foam tape behind it, and I'm also going to embellish that using my Spectrum Noir sparkle pen. Once I have all my little bits of foam tape on the back of that, I'll take off the release paper and then stick that down, doing my best to ensure that it's straight. Lovely. Okay, so now I'm going to work on the back panel, and you need to make sure when you're putting these together that you'll have 2 of the side panels on the right side, and then this one will be on the left hand side. So make sure that you're putting your paper, your pattern papers, the right way round and the right way up. Ask me how I know this. I have fired away, stuck everything down, and then realized, don't I have that piece of pattern paper on it upside down? So make sure when you're doing that you have them aligned properly. Okay, so now I have my sentiment panel, and I'm also going to glue that down, and I'm using my wet glue for that as well. Perfect, and there's a nice border around that. That's what I wanted, to be able to see the red card. Okay, so I'm taking my little fussy cut images, and I'm going to stick down. I have the little gnome there, and he's the same as my pop-up gnome, and then I have this other little gnome with the lantern in his hand, and I'm going to stick him down with a little Christmas tree behind him. Now with this little bouquet of Christmas flowers, you could put that anywhere on the card, but I thought it was nice centered over the sentiment. So now it's time to fussy cut out my little gnome. Isn't he gorgeous? And I'm going to embellish these with silver stickles and Spectrum Noir pens and glossy accents on the nose. I'm really going to jazz these little guys up, but I just love this little fella. And I have given a nice little white border all around him. Now I was going to stick him straight down on the mechanism, but I decided I wanted him to kind of be floating so you couldn't see him. So I'm going to use some acetate. Before I do that, I'm going to stick my card bases together. Now you only want to put some of the glue on one of the panels, and it's the outside panels. So I have my one on the left, now I'm going to do the one on the right. Now you can use double-sided tape for this, but I had my glue handy, and this is a really good glue and it doesn't leave any sticky residue and you don't see it, it dries matte, so I was happy with that. I've used my bone folder there just to enforce the score lines and burnish them. So there we go, that's our card base. Now it's just we have to do the mechanism. So I'm just looking at how my mechanism will fit in there. Perfect. But I've decided, you know what, I am going to cut some of this off, and I cut off about 1.5 inches off the top of it, and that's going to allow for my little piece of acetate. The acetate I have here is quite a strong acetate. It's about 4 or 5 microns. So let me see, what's that? It's about 2 to 3 millimeters thick. It's a really thick acetate that I get from a local stationery suppliers. And I find this really good. There's no bending when you stick anything onto it, but you can use packaging. A lot of products come in an acetate packaging and that works fine, and that's what I do. I cut up packaging when I get it and I keep it for times like this as well. Okay, so I had some double-sided tape across where the mechanism attaches to the card base, but I want to use my red liner tape because I know that's good and strong. So that's what I have put on there. I've also stuck down my piece of acetate onto the white mechanism base. Okay, so that is going to stick just inside, and I've slowed everything down so you can see the mechanism will sit like this at this point, but inside the card base. And I'm going to lift it up now and show you how I'm going to put it inside. And the reason I've slowed it down is because I didn't actually do it very well in the recording, but I wanted you to see it goes right up against the left hand side where my fingers are holding the card base. You want to put it right up inside there. Pinch it down with your fingers where you have your tape on the mechanism, and then that will hold it in place. And that is your mechanism inside, set the way you want it. Then once you have that done, where you have your acetate there, I'll be able to cut that off to size. Now you can see it's come down. I've stopped this and I'm showing you all my blunders. It was too long, but that's okay. I will just go from the inside in here and cut straight down along, and that way then when the mechanism is closed, it won't be hanging out the bottom. And these are two things that I didn't realize when I was making these in the beginning. Even when I made these not using the dies, like where do I position my mechanism, how far up or how far down? So that's why I've left in all of this for you to see, so you could see what I had to go through and how I learned. And it's different for every little topper that goes on your wiper mechanism. So now I'm attaching my little gnome, and it's too high up on the acetate, so it's catching on the right hand side, but that's grand. I've taken it off carefully. One of the red liner tapes has come off, but I will just put a new piece on. Now I know I need to cut down some of my acetate. He can't be up too high, so I'm going to take about 1/2 inch off that acetate and then stick him back down again. And look, he pops up and down, no problem. I love it. It's brilliant. Now, if you wanted, you could put on your little piece there using repositionable adhesive, and then when you have it in the right position, then you can put your strong adhesive on because you'll know exactly where to put it. But that worked perfectly for me, and I love it. I played with it for ages, guys. I actually have edited the video, but I must have played with it for about a solid minute, just up and down, up and down. I was chuffed with it. So what I'm doing here is I'm taking my Spectrum Noir and I'm just putting that all over my little gnome's beard. So I was looking at the card and playing with the card and thinking, do you know what? It's missing something. It's missing something. So let's put some Spectrum Noir around the little flowers and the little bows. And I thought, yeah, that's lovely. Still missing something. And I thought, yeah, this little lady gnome. I had taken this out. I was going to use her and I went with the little green hat gnome instead. So I thought, you know what? She'd be nice on this. Sentiment and all. So what I've done is I'm fussy cutting that all out. Now in hindsight, if I was to do this again, I would do this, but I would put the Merry Christmas on the left hand side and my Lady Gnome on the right hand side. I think it would balance it better with the two gnomes each on, you know, opposite sides. But I love this card and I think it looks really lovely with her just set there. So I'm going to take some foam tape. I'm going to lift her up the same as we have lifted up our sentiment. I'm going to take off the release paper and she's sitting just above the peel off that we have running across there. Perfect. I think that looks much better. I'm much happier with that. So now I'm going to take my Spectrum Noir and I'm going to put some Spectrum Noir on her, on the little white bands of her hat and on her little bows. I'm going to take my Glossy Accents and I'm going to put some of that on her bows on her hair, on the parcels and on her nose. And I'm going to allow that time to dry. I was chuffed with that. I thought this looks fab. But again, I thought I want something else. I need something else. So I got out my Nuvo drops. And this Nuvo drop is the Crystal Drops in Bottle Green. And what I did was I put some clusters of 3 of those around the front of the card. And I thought, you know what? Those little bows could do with something. And I thought maybe a gem. And I thought, you know what? No, I'm going to again use Nuvo drops. So I've Nuvo drops all over the front of the card, but I think it's nice. I do like it. And I was happy with that. This is my card as it's finished. So this is our finished card. As you can see, I have put my little girl on the front. I have put some sparkle on her hat. I've also put some glossy accents on her nose and on her presents and on her little bows on her ponytails. I've put some Nuvo drops around the front as well as in each of the little bows that you can see. With our little gnome who pops up, again I have put some sparkle on his hat using the glitter stickles. I have used some Spectrum Noir sparkle on his beard and on his little cuffs. There is some sparkle on his skates, you can just see in there. And I've also added in a little Christmas present. I used a die in my stash. It's a die from the Made to Surprise. It's one of the edges. And it cut out this fabulous little box for me and I've inlaid it. I've paper pieced it with some silver cardstock, and again I've used the green Nuvo drops on the card I've put on the little present. So that's our finished card. I just love this. I think it's so cute. There's plenty of Christmas sparkle and everything on the card. So there you go. Thank you so much for watching my video. I'm going to leave you now with some images of the card that we've made. And until next time, thanks for watching and bye bye.